Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Inside Guns with your host, me, the Yankee Marshal. Hopefully my voice won't crack too much during this. I've been losing my voice from yelling at the dogs down in the yard. We've got a friend over helping us build some planter boxes in the backyard, where my son has a friend over. And he brought his dog Roadblock, who is part Great Dane, part Pit Bull, part something else, and he's a little bit of a beast. So him and Turnip have been running around. In fact, Roadblock has spent most of his time getting face fucked by Turnip, because Turnip feels the need to let him know, this is my yard. But they've been outside having a blast, so I'm covered in dog hair, and I've been yelling at them to stay off the building materials, and I'm losing my voice. But it seems to be doing pretty good right now. But today, the first thing I wanted to talk about, other than what I just talked about, is I want to talk about the shooting in Columbus. I don't actually want to talk as much about the shooting itself. I want to talk about some comments I've been getting about a comment I made on it the other day. I said I was in full support of the police in this as far as the details are concerned right now. Well, I got a lot of people sending me hate mail from both sides of the aisle. Some people saying, you're a hypocrite taking the cop's position and taking their side. And you've said in the past you think policing is corrupt in this country and it needs to be reformed and blah, blah, blah. Now you're taking their side. Well, for one, that's not what hypocrisy is. I do not like hypocrisy. You're right when people have been pointing out to me, you say hypocrisy is your least favorite thing. And it is. But I can acknowledge that there are issues with modern day policing. Hell, a video just came out where one of the instructors is teaching the cadets that there's no feeling like killing a criminal or killing a suspect. It's better than sex, is what they were saying, which is the old military mantra of there's no feeling like no better feeling than killing the enemy. You know, it's that old brainwashing technique that they're using with police officers. You know, like teaching them like you're a killer going out there to defeat the enemy. But that's a topic for another video. So I can recognize that those problems exist, but I can also recognize that sometimes the police are right in what they do, and they do their jobs faithfully and properly. And in the situation of the shooting of that 16-year-old girl, the police were right. And that kind of brings up another thing for me. A lot of other people on the other side were saying like, well, always getting on me about you always side against the police. You're on the sides of these, criminals and blah, blah, blah. And to them, I say, everybody who gets shot by police is not a criminal. We know that. Philando Castile, for one. And I know the gun community was very silent on that. I wasn't, but most of the gun community was. So there's no hypocrisy involved here. I just know when to choose who I think is a hero and who I think is a villain. And that's a lesson I think a lot of people out there could learn, especially in the gun community. Every time some fucking redneck uses a gun in a crime, don't take their side immediately until you find out if they're a heinous person. Every time a cop shoots someone, don't immediately start trying to demonize the person they shot. Because in the end, it makes you look like an idiot. It makes you look like a hypocrite, too. If you ever support the fact that we need fair policing and police reform in this country. And if you're on the other side, every time someone gets shot by police, don't start yelling the police are killing people for no reason. Because sometimes there's a reason to kill people. This 16-year-old girl in Columbus, and you can keep calling her a little 16-year-old girl all you want, from the video, she's a fucking full-grown woman. And not only that, she was trying to stab people. Now, I know emotionally she's not a grown woman. She's more mature than a 16-year-old boy would be at that stage, but she's still, in my mind, a child. But physically, as far as presenting a threat to people, she's full grown. She was a big girl. And not only was she a big girl, but she was wielding a deadly weapon, a knife. I don't know how their lawyer is saying that she was unarmed when they shot her. I don't know if he's trying to play the she didn't have a gun card or whatever, but she was definitely armed with a deadly weapon, a knife. Knives kill people every day all over the world. And she didn't look like she was trying to intimidate those people with that knife. It looked like she was trying to kill those people with that knife. And when that police officer arrived on the scene and that large, full-grown girl was actively attacking other people with a knife, he did what he had to do to protect the people she was attacking. Ask yourself this, if someone was coming at you with a knife, would you try reasoning with them? Would you try less than lethal? Would you try shooting to wound, which is so stupid? Or would you fire your weapon in a way to stop the threat so you didn't get slashed up or stabbed? You would do the latter. You wouldn't take chances with your own safety. So that police officer shouldn't take chances with the safety of someone else who's being attacked. He shouldn't have tried to shoot to wound like some idiots say, or tried to use a taser, because she could have still stabbed the girl multiple times. And from his perspective, and here's another thing I want to let everybody know. Yes, I know the girl was only 16. She was in foster care. Seems like her family wants to talk about how wonderful she was, and she was. One of her aunts I saw doing an interview goes, she's had her troubles and her run-ins with authority and blah blah blah, but she was at heart a good girl. In other words, she's had some troubles in the past. This isn't her first offense, obviously, and she was in foster care. So I'm like, why is she in foster care if she's got all this loving family, including her mother and her father, there on the scene? Was it because of her actions or their actions? That'll, I guess, come out later, maybe, if this goes further than it has. But, so I'm not saying that she was a bad person throughout all of this. I'm not saying she started this. I'm not saying at some point she might not have been the victim. She could have been going about her day. Those people could have run up on her in her driveway, started attacking her, and she might have pulled a knife and started defending herself. And in that case, she would be totally justified in doing so, especially if there's one of her and more of them. So that could be possible. She could have been totally innocent in starting the situation. But as far as the police officer is concerned, from the second he rolled up, he has to deal with what he sees in front of him. And what he saw in front of him at that point was her with a knife, those other girls in danger. Those other girls, like I said, could have started it earlier. But at the point he rolls up, what he has to deal with is an immediate threat to the life and safety of the girl on the car and the girl on the ground, who apparently is getting kicked in the face by the father of the girl with the knife. Might tell you a little something about the family unit there. Or might not. Might show you that the father was coming out to defend his daughter, against an attack. It happens in foster care. Foster care can be a very violent place because a lot of bad kids go into foster care because of their own behavior. But not saying, like I say, she could have been an angel and could have been totally right. But from the time that the police officer pulled up and she didn't drop that knife or stop the attack, all he can deal with is the fact that he sees a fully grown woman, he doesn't know how old she is, attacking other women and having the physical advantage, knocking one to the ground, slamming the other one on a car, and then drawing back a knife like she's going to stab her. She obviously has the physical advantage there. She's obviously the aggressor at that point. That's what the police can deal with. He told her to stop. He told her to drop the knife, stop doing what she's doing. She did not. At that point, he did what was right. He shot her. He ended the threat to the people that at that time he saw as being the victims of her aggression. Now, if you go back and say, well, look, these people, there's video, they just pulled up on her and started attacking her. Well, great. That clears her as being a bad person. But it doesn't clear her from not obeying police orders. It doesn't demonize the police officer because he didn't know that when he showed up. I mean, he should have reverse vision where he can see in the past and see what happened. No, he doesn't. He had to deal with the threat he saw immediately in front of him. So supporting that is not hypocrisy. That's just saying, in this case, he's right. I'm not going to demonize him or it makes me look like a partisan. Even though I don't agree with modern day policing, in this circumstance, he was right. In most interactions, police are right. There's just too many of them where they're wrong and then they're not held accountable when they're wrong. That's the problem. But in this case, the police did right. Me taking the side of the 15-year-old would not be appropriate, or the 16-year-old would not be appropriate here, because that would be demonizing the officer. The officer did nothing wrong. Now, if we want to have an argument of whether the girl started it and whether she's to blame for all of this, not necessarily. I'm not going to demonize her right off the bat. Like I said, every time, some people, every time a cop shoots someone, they immediately start demonizing the victim. Trying to drag up every bad thing they've ever done, which is completely irrelevant to the situation, just because they want to support their own bias and support the police. Because, it's hard to admit that, hey, those people whose boots I've been licking for 10 years, turns out they're not all that great. And a lot of people don't want to do that. But like I said, nothing hypocritical about dealing with each individual instance on the merits of those instances. That's not hypocritical. That's just being reasonable. And people, especially in the gun community and on the far left, need to start being a little more reasonable in who they choose to defend, who they choose to demonize. Because when it just comes down to you're going to be on one side of the either no matter what, it just shows that if you can't be a little more judicious in deciding who you're going to support and who you're going to condemn, that if you're always going to be on one side or always going to be on the other side, no matter the facts, well, all you're doing is showing that your opinion ain't worth much. All right, everybody, with that being said, I want to move on to my favorite part of the show, gun talk. And what I want to talk about today is a continuation of what I was discussing yesterday when I was talking about the best production 1911s being from Dan Wesson. I mentioned, much like their revolvers, their 1911s are pretty much the best you can buy in the production level of these firearms. And a lot of people start sending me emails like, well, I didn't even know about Dan Wesson revolvers. How great are they? What makes them so great? Where can I get one? Etc. Well, I want to be the bearer of some bad news here, but some good and bad news here. We'll do the bad news first. The bad news is the Dan Wesson 715 revolvers have been discontinued. CZ stopped making them. There's still some out there. There's still some stock at distributors still making it to gun shops. I believe there's one for sale at Sporting Systems right now even. And they're available used every now and then. But as far as buying them new production, that's not going to happen. They've been discontinued. Which is a shame because, like I said, it was one of the best production revolvers ever made. Very clean, very smooth, very well made. One of the best triggers, interchangeable barrels. Just really nice gun. You could have it 3-inch barrel, 8-inch barrel. You can change between them in a matter of like 30 seconds. So, awesome gun. And not only is it interchangeable, but just like I said, super well built, great attention to detail, and an amazing trigger. So it was a great gun, but like I say, it's been discontinued. I know that is sad. Luckily, I have one. If I didn't have one, I'd go out and buy one right now before they ran away. And I'm not saying people panic, go out and buy one. It's just if you really love revolvers and you want one, if you see one, keep that in mind when you see it. But I think there's some good news here, though. It seems like they discontinued them when they acquired Colt firearms. It seems like around the same time. So what I'm thinking is Colt is now going to fill the niche of the Dan Wesson revolvers. Because Dan Wesson pretty much only had the one revolver that they were actually making right now. So they had all their 1911s in one revolver. So now CZ owns Dan Wesson and Colt. So I think they're going to focus on the 1911s from Dan Wesson as their Dan Wesson line. And they'll bring the Colt into the fold as their revolver line. And even though I'm a little upset that Colt's not an American-owned company anymore, it's still going to be an American-made product, and it's going to be an American heritage product, if you know what I mean. It's all American heritage there. And with CZ running them, if their production quality is anywhere close to what they were doing with the Dan Wessons, we're going to see Colts that are better than ever. So I'm thinking that's why CZ bought them, is to have a line of revolvers, because they've already got a line of general semi-automatics, double stacks, etc. They've got a line of 1911s from Dan Wesson. I think now they'll have all those revolvers from Colt. And another thing I think they might have wanted from Colt is their AR line. So you'll see ARs now maybe being pumped out from Colt better and in better quantities and maybe even at better prices now that they're under CZ management, because I think that's what Colt will fulfill in their line, revolvers and ARs. And that'd be a great thing, because I think CZ will really do a great job with them if they do half as good a job as they've done with the Dan Wesson 1911s and then Dan Wesson revolvers. Because when those things became CZ properties, the quality didn't go down, it went up. I had a lot of the original Dan Wesson 1911s. I had one of pretty much every model they made, actually, back in the day. And I sold them all. And then I started buying them back under CZ because I think the ones made under CZ are a little bit better made. So, and I think the same thing about the Dan Wesson revolver. I think it was a little bit better made under CZ. So if Colt ends up being the same with their ARs and their revolvers, I think that's all good news. So there's a little bad news that the Dan Wesson revolver is not going to be available anymore, at least not for now. But the good news is I think Colt is more than going to fill the space and maybe even be better than ever. All right, everybody, we are to the end of the show, and this is where I would usually do the viewer EDC of the day. But today I want to talk about something a little different. As you know, we just completed a fundraiser for Harper, the Great Dane service dog who needed some medical care. And we got all that done. We raised the money. We delivered it last night during the live chat. Even showed a picture of her in her new braces and everything that she's using to recover from her injuries that she'll have to wear until she's fully recovered. At least the cone is gone. So that was a great success. We sold out the 200 posters fairly quickly in a matter of a few days. The problem was I've got some people contacting me. I've had about 11 people contact me saying, hey, I was waiting till payday, which would have been today, Friday, to order one of the posters, and they sold out in a few days, and I didn't get one because they thought for sure it would run through the weekend. Well, I only paid to have 200 of them made. And I discussed this during the live chat last night. Didn't seem like anybody objected to me increasing the run to 220. So I'm going to pay for 20 more of them to be made. So if you're someone who was waiting for payday to get one, and you didn't get one and you want one, I've had a lot of people contacting me, say, can I buy one separately? Can I buy one separately? Well, I'm not set up to do that. I'm not producing the posters. But I can increase the run by 20. So I can give you a chance to get over there and get one today. I cannot guarantee you'll get it, especially if you don't watch this video. But it's there. I'm giving you the opportunity. I'll also mention it during my live chat tonight. And hopefully, if you're one of the people that wanted one and didn't get one, you'll be able to go over and get it. Now, they might not sell out at all because I might make 20 more. Might just sell 11 more, like the people who contacted me. Or might just sell 3 more because half the time people who say, oh, I missed it, I wish I got one, don't really want one anyway. They just want to make you think they were supporting you. I'm not saying that about anyone. I'm just saying that's just the reality of selling stuff. So they will be there, the 20. They will go on sale when this video goes live. So if you want one, go over and get them. That will be the end of them, but I wanted to give everybody a chance to get one. So with that, if you want one, go over and get it. All right, everybody, we are to the end of the show. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you come back again Monday because we don't do show on the weekends. So until then, I want to sign off by saying, as usual, as far as the state of the world today is concerned, it is what it is. But if we continue to keep our heads about us, ignore the profiteers and the fearmongers that want to manipulate us, and keep fighting for our rights, what it will be in the future is better.